We're going to do this on the count of three. Ready? One. Uh-oh. I got to get the Remarkist app going.
Every time.
I have to get the Remarkist app going.
That's
Hold on a second.
Josie's job.
All right, let's do it. On the count of three, everyone. Are you ready? One, two, three.
You're never allowed to do that any other way again, John.
I agree. Yeah, because midnight in an airport isn't very romantic at all.
No.
But, like, also, who gets on a plane at midnight? Is that really...
Yeah, you get to
That's my
sleep.
favorite time to fly.
Yeah, it's like everyone's quiet and dark.
The red eyes, right? Isn't that this called the red eye flight?
Oh, that's true.
I'm so sorry about that. I can't believe he's gonna move to Puerto Rico without telling me.
Oh no, he's not moving. He's visiting us out in Puerto Rico for the first 2 weeks of January.
You dumped him because he's going to Puerto Rico for 2 weeks?
What's the gayest thing I've ever heard in my life? Say
I
you're
love the
sorry.
number of, yeah, right? Just say you're sorry. The number of blue sofas and blue sweaters in this is I love it. I have a blue sofa and it's my favorite.
Wait, what? The Jonas Brothers?
Shut up.
Nick was a producer on this show. I noticed it on one of the credits.
No way.
Because I had that same reaction, and then I was like, oh, he's a producer. That makes total sense.
I don't care about the Jonas Brothers, but I care about Fred Savage, and I want to know where
Oh,
his appearance is.
I love the Jonas Brothers. Granted, I kind of grew up in that generation.
I wasn't even a fan of them, but I just really wasn't expecting the Jonas Brothers in this episode.
They are my favorite boy.
They're your boyfriends, we get it.
I mean, are they not anybody else?
You know who loves the Jonas Brothers? Boomer. He loves the Jonas Brothers. Just
He's
look at
having a
him.
great time.
He does.
Yes, we do not stand Dash. I love these people.
I love the Boomer Defense Squad.
That fixes it.
That's cute,
Oh
though.
no, Boomer! I believed in you, man.
I love how they all just like gather around and support him.
I will say that was kind of the fact that they wrote into the script and the Jonas Brothers approved a kind of a knock on the Jonas Brothers was, I think, I can respect that.
That's why they're cool.
It is why they're cool.
Have you
Why are
seen the
they?
Jonas Brothers roast?
It's
Because that
go.
is
No,
amazing.
but I'm sure it's awesome.
You need to. It's fantastic.
Oh
After the
yeah, why
Where
episode,
aren't
I'm
are
they
they
gonna.
today?
conveniently sitting right now? Like they just
In the
found this.
trailer.
What trailer?
Well, keep watching, Hunter.
Just watch.
It might reveal itself. Man, that
So
sounds like
true.
some logic that I heard recently on Discord. Can't remember who though.
You're John.
There's a lot of really good like one-liner logic things in this.
What is happening?
I love this part.
What?
It's true. Of course, they went to band camp together.
All good stories start with at one time at band
A
camp.
band camp.
Yep. What happened at band camp stays at band camp.
Thank you, Nick Jonas.
Thank you, Nick Jonas, producer of this movie.
Priya's like, I'm here. I'm gonna
Yeah, I
try.
understand Priya in this moment. It's 6 hours before their flight and they're not at the airport?
Wait, does Lily have to
I
go
know
with them
that
or is she
logic doesn't.
choosing to go with them? Is Lily running away to go with them or are they making her go? Do you guys know?
They
They're
made it
making
seem
her
like she
go
didn't have a choice.
because she's
Yeah,
underage.
they pulled the parent card.
Is the aunt there?
I don't think.
Does anyone know what this is called? What they're doing, or
I believe it's Festivus and they're going to air their grievances. I'm just kidding.
I think Lily has a lot of grievances right now.
Oh dear.
Is that really? That's what's gonna happen? It's a Festivus?
No, it's New Year's Eve. Today is Festivus.
Wow. Okay.
Her brother is probably my favorite character if we're being real. Him and his boyfriend.
I don't know what this tradition is, but I want this kind of power in my.
Right.
John, did you ever try the cheese on the pie?
No, not yet.
I really like Sophia.
I love Sophia, man. I stand by it.
Yeah, she's one of those sneaky characters who like warms your way into your warms her way into.
And what does he do? Does he like give you money at the end?
Apparently,
Yeah.
It looks like money envelopes.
An awesome tradition. I don't know what this is.
Did they specify what culture she is or where their family?
Is it Buddhism?
I don't know.
I
They
don't
haven't
think
mentioned
they have
exactly.
specified.
Okay. Because the only time I've heard her mention it, she said, "I'm too Asian," but that was it.
What in the world? The grandpa that was uncalled for.
Yeah, that was mean.
That basically saying she has no mind or agency of her own. Some boy made her do it.
Oh,
Oh.
snap! Well, well,
I
well.
love her.
I kind of like angry, fed up Lily.
Seems very uncompromising.
Sorry, but the traffic getting to JFK at this hour is just too risky. They should have left a long time ago.
How many hours left did it say?
4.
Oh, that's
4.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they should have been at the airport.
I would be
They just
sitting at
said
the
5,
gate
dude.
by now.
It always bugs me in Gilmore Girls when Lane's flight is at 10 and it's like 8 p.m. And I'm like, you are nowhere near an airport. You need to get there. It's just like that TV magic doesn't work for me.
Ooh, did you caught that right?
He didn't show her the
Yeah.
notebook.
He didn't show her the notebook. Saying, for those of you who want them to get back together, brace yourselves.
What on earth?
That's mean.
Oh, there's only 12 minutes. I can't.
See, I don't want them to not get together because I mean it would be great plot and stuff, but like I want her to choose to not be with him, not just because she didn't have all the information.
You don't want fate to destroy this whole thing?
That's not how fate should work. If it's fake, they end up together. People only say it's fate when good things happen.
What's it called when bad things happen?
That's not for you to read, sir.
Intrusive.
Excuse me, sir. Please close that.
Sit down. That is not yours.
People who call you kid,
Does that
I would
happen to
I
you
would
often,
prefer
John?
I would prefer that they not be around.
Yeah, there's that New York City traffic.
Is this about to be an Imagine Me and You moment? He used the L word. Yes. Oh, guys, I'm crying.
All those lights around the books make me nervous.
Cheesy apple pie.
I was gonna say that food spread is quite impressive. Was that Sophia, right?
Yes.
What? That was a kiss.
I'm emotional.
Uh-oh.
I
Deus
wonder
ex
what's gonna
grandpa.
happen.
Deus ex grandpa is coming in. Ooh.
Oh, I
Is Lily gonna stay
wonder.
with her?
Smiley Dash is so cute. Aww. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
For those of you who wanted Boomer and Sophia to get together, congrats.
Was that anyone?
No, I'm joking.
I stand
Yay,
for it.
TiVo's alone.
Did he just realize he's surrounded by lesbians? Because that looks like he just had that realization. Aww.
The fireworks in the background through the window.
Oh, come on. This is adorable.
Look, Mandy's wish came true.
They're gonna have a baby.
He's gonna push her at that window.
They even have a cute little Christmas ornament.
Yeah, see, where's Fred Savage?
Who's
That was
behind the camera?
adorable. That was so sweet. And Josie did so good.
Babsy came home
He's
in the
oh,
middle
okay.
of the episode, so it was good. But she actually did she was there for the first half. She totally just chilled. She fell asleep on my shoulder.
Oh,
Oh,
it was that
Um,
like bedtime story preamble. We are serious, John. You have to do it that way forever.
yeah, nope.
It was so cute.
That's a one time. That's a one time special.
That's okay. We have it
And
recorded,
it's
Um,
right?
recorded.
Yay!
uh, is it recorded? I don't know. I feel like the recordings usually start after the preamble, but maybe not.
Well,
Damn.
Nick could have.
Um, okay, so let's talk. Where should we start? I mean, I know where I want to. I know what areas I'd like to venture into, but what are some folks thinking?
I'll
Boomer
start
What
with
do
and
you?
Sophia being
Sophia.
amazing. Sophia came through in the end. That's all I.
Well, I mean, look, I think that all of Elle's points yesterday were totally valid, but I think that that was part of the writing. You know, I think that your instincts on there were exactly what the writers wanted you to feel. He was about as unsavory of a character as he could be. It was the absolute darkest episode of the series. But I think that was part of what makes for me this episode so awesome is the revelation that he has, and by the way, through the Sophia character, who basically echoes all, well, not all of the sentiments, but at least one of your biggest points yesterday, which was that he is living in a fantasy world, and the person that he built up in his head is not Lily, and would never, and would no one would ever be able to live up to that. And that's a big part of the of the character's growth and understanding.
I think Elle is too disgusted to talk.
It's true.
she, she,
I
she was
still I still can't get over Boomer and Sophia. Like
Right?
that's just
I
where
know. I mean,
I just
when
checked
that
out on
What?
that.
oh my god, when that happened, I was just like, oh right, oh my gosh, Elle is not happy right
He
now.
didn't like her. I mean, I like
Maybe
her and I like
he just
Boomer.
didn't like her with Dash.
He was
He just
jealous
I
didn't
the
like the
whole
no,
Dash
time.
husband who was with
no.
her.
Elle doesn't like her. Period. Not with Dash.
Oh
You
no,
don't like
no.
her.
I
No,
thought you meant
Boomer.
Boomer didn't like her. I thought you
Oh,
said Boomer
Boomer
didn't
did.
like.
oh, that's true. But that's true. But I think that that's part of what makes it sweet, actually. Because that shows an arc as well. That no, I don't know. That's me. I love the Sophia character. I think the character is such a surprise. I definitely think the character was set up to be this entitled, and I'm gonna totally give that to anybody, and to you, Elle, for sure, but anybody who believes that that Sophia's manipulative. She is, of course, she is. But I mean, like, a lot of people are manipulative. I mean, manipulation is a big part of a lot of interaction. But ultimately, when it mattered, I think when it really truly mattered, she showed that her true self is that she's a good person. Ultimately, if she wasn't a good person, that manipulation wouldn't have stopped. It would have, it existed at a time when she was trying to get something that she thought would make her happy, and not necessarily hurt anybody in the process. I'm not I don't have a problem with that kind of manipulation, because I feel like that kind of manipulation exists everywhere in relationships. People are trying to get what they want, and her true colors show when she recognizes that she shouldn't be manipulating him anymore, because there's something bigger here. And I think that her intelligence, and understanding of relationships, and her understanding of him really comes out in this episode. So all in all, I think she's a cool character.
I actually agree, and I think not just Sophia. I think all of their friends, both Dash and Lily's. I mean, this whole idea throughout the whole show is, Lily's feeling so alone at the holidays because her family has left her. Dash is like seeking to be like the loner and not have people around, but yet they're surrounded by so many people that love and care about them. Like, just look at all the people in the neighborhood that help Lily, right? And then these friends come together for Dash at the end, and they pull together this amazing space in the Strand for him and Lily. They care for one another.
I have to jump in with a very not serious thought because I've just realized on the topic of all of his friends, it's only just clicked in my head that that moment with Nick Jonas in the trailer, the friend of his, well, quote unquote friend of his that flirts with Nick is called Priya. That's Nick's wife's name.
Oh wow. Is Wick
Her
is
name is
Nick's wife?
Priyanka.
Yeah,
He
her name
calls
is
her Priya
Priyanka.
though.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Priya is like is like nickname of Priyanka. Is Nick Jonas's wife Indian?
Yes,
I
Yeah,
I
mean,
believe
Yeah,
would
so.
imagine
Yeah,
she's
she
British.
she's
is.
like
I have a
if
Indian
friend
you
whose
saw
daughter's
Hollywood
pictures of
Indian.
her,
royalty.
John, you'd recognize her. She's pretty famous.
And on that note, can I just say that I know a lot of you loved seeing the Jonas Brothers in this, but I didn't see a point to it. I thought it was
Oh,
stupid.
I mean, I think that was the point. I think the point was that it was supposed to be really dumb.
Well, also, you know,
Which
Nick
is what I
Jonas.
loved about it.
Yeah, but Nick Jonas. I mean, being a producer, that's one. They had a new Christmas song out. That's two. There's lots of reasons to do.
I mean,
Well,
well,
I
I mean, I
know
just think that
why
they
they did
that
it. I just didn't
it
like it.
it
I
was
think it drove the storyline. Boomer is a Jonas fan. He went with his friends, and Dash would not normally go there, and he went there to find Boomer. That was the whole point. He showed up at a Jonas concert to talk to Boomer, so they could make up and be friends again.
I mean, I definitely think a lot of it was the producing, the Christmas album, but I also the fact that they kind of seemed to recognize that and made it a part of it as well. I thought that whole scene in Nick Jonas's trailer was just so bizarre. I mean, the first time I watched it, I thought the exact same thing. Like, what trailer are they in right now? Because of course, like that's a trailer for an actor or a musician. Like there's no other there's no other way they would be in a trailer if it wasn't that. So the fact that they kind of make fun of that very fact felt they they kind of understood how silly it is that they put Nick Jonas in there because he's a producer and the Christmas album, and they just decided, you know what, we're gonna just make fun of it, and I just love that.
Well, but it also works too because the whole series, all of these kids have connections. So like the rich kids have rich connections to like the Morgan Library, etc. And Lily's got sort of familial connections all over the city. So I always love the joke where it's one of the other kids is like, oh, like he has like a family connection to the Jonas Brothers. Like, oh yeah, this is Nick Jonas' trailer. No big deal. Like, it's really funny. It kind of plays off that, like, oh yeah, the rich
Yeah,
kids are all connected.
that's why I was like, of course he went to band camp with Nick Jonas. Of course he
It
did.
also makes sense because the Jonas Brothers are from New Jersey. Like, it makes total sense they would go to band camp together.
Yeah. I especially love that, that all of his friends kind of do for him at the very end of the story, really what we've seen so much happening for Lily throughout the story. That was, I thought, really kind of um, a powerful theme in general. Just found families, and I hadn't really, it didn't really sink in, that idea that he sort of has this family, I had kind of like, I think that they do a good job of hiding that from you for most of it, but there are little clues throughout, right? Like when Boomer sees Sophia, or no, is it when Priyanka sees Boomer or something at the party, and somebody's like, the band's back together, like, little hints that, like, there is a family here. It just hasn't really gelled yet, at least in this story. And I just really like that. I just found that really emotional there at the end. The idea that, like, he needed friends to help him do all of that. This series is especially, like, it has a special place in my heart, because Babsy and I, that's how our relationship began. Our relationship began getting to know each other 100% through writing, because we didn't meet each other for many months. And by that point, we were totally in love with one another. At least I was in love with her. And so
Aww.
this story is it just makes so much sense to me, when I saw it for the first time, I just like I'd never seen a story that put that into like that showed me something that I had experienced that I thought was so specifically unique to me, and that I would never really like that would be really hard to see, and because we did a little like that kind of stuff. We did play games with one another with our correspondents, and like took each other on scavenger hunts and stuff, and whatnot. Like we did a lot of that stuff. Not to that degree, but like uh, I just found it really it just really brought me back to those days, and I thought it was they just did it really well.
I also love how much the show is a love letter to the city of New York at the holiday time. Like, so I watched this for the first time last year when it debuted on Netflix, and it was like, at that point, our first holiday season during the COVID pandemic, and I was still isolating at home. I wasn't going to be seeing family for the holidays, and I wasn't able to go out and do the things I would normally do with friends at the holiday time in the city. And to just see those scenes and like the crowds and the lights in Manhattan on the screen, it just, I don't know, it was sort of comforting for me last year because I couldn't go out and do that myself last year.
Yeah, you weren't here earlier, but I actually mentioned that I watched this series for the first time exactly 1 year ago, almost to the day. I would imagine, because um, both Babsy and I watched it with COVID from separate rooms of our house because we were isolating from each other because at that time they still weren't sure, like, can two people who have it, like, could they potentially like make each other sicker or whatnot. So we were like isolated, and we watched the series exactly like um like we're doing now. um, and also, I will say, I feel like we should rebrand for the future. We should rebrand Holiday Hiatus to Love Letter to New York, because that's been a big theme for a lot of our Christmas watches. Is that there are a bunch of them that are in New York or take place in New York, and I feel like that is a big thing. New York at the holidays is really like a Christmas card, maybe we should say, to New York.
It's just such a
Yeah, I
great
mean,
backdrop.
it is a great back, and then like I said this in the very beginning, but they really do capture it. Like, New York is not super magical most of the time, but at the holidays it truly is. And I really think that they just the way they shot it really kind of captures exactly how it is. We don't have Jonas Brothers concerts all the time, but you know all the
But there are, but there
decorations.
You
are
get
concerts
Harry
that happen,
Ween.
right? But there are concerts that happen there on Times Square and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like there'll be like the big New Year's Eve stuff going on in Times Square. There's usually something random going on, but like, yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I walked through Times Square the other day, and there was like a giant holiday market in Times Square that I didn't know about. I was like, all right, okay. Just kind of That's just kind of how it is, and it's really fun. And January 10th it'll all go away, and it'll be just cold.
New
but
York City again in the
yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
uh, um, yeah, the I think the thing about any city really, or any big city during the holiday season, is is just actually the increase in luminance at night. I think that there's just something about the actual light level being turned up in a city at night that feels good. I don't know if that makes any sense. But even like, the areas of town here in Los Angeles that have like a lot of like string lights and stuff, there's something cozy about that at night. I know, not particularly good for the environment, I guess, but but I like nighttime settings that have
You like
more
twinkle lights?
luminance. I like nighttime settings with more luminance. I just do. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And
Lights for
at the
extent.
holiday,
Go ahead, John.
at
Sorry.
the ho- well, I was gonna say at the holiday, the entire city basically just like increases its luminance.
Yeah, actually, Karen and I were. It was a few weeks ago, right, where we were down by the we were by the vessel where that's uh
Hudson Yards.
portion of the
Hudson
set. Yeah,
Yards.
Yeah.
Hudson Yards. It's
Where
Hudson
the
Yards.
Jonas Brothers concert was in the show.
Yeah, and we came upon it, and they like it was right. I guess it was right before Thanksgiving, and the like all the trees that are right outside the mall there were like all lit up with lights, and we were like, oh my gosh, like it's just it is really magical because it's not an all the time thing, and it was really cool to see like all the trees lit up with strings of lights. I mean, that's just kind of how a lot of businesses decorate. I know at Columbia University they put all lights on the trees on the college walk in the middle of the campus, and that is something that happens here that really does change things. But it's the same reason we like sitting around our Christmas trees at night too, right? It's like that sort of soft glow is a really, I don't know, it's very romantic for lack of a better word.
As someone who like all year round lives by fairy lights and candlelight, I completely agree. Maybe it's because I'm born around Christmas. Maybe that's like the kind of influence on my life that I just soft aesthetic lighting is just so much better than street lights or overhead lights. Just yeah, I'm
Or
all
no
about
light or
aesthetic.
no lights.
Right.
Or
Exactly. Just
I
pure
mean,
darkness
that's
where the
all. That's
murders
also sort
happen.
of what I'm getting at. Like, I like, like a restaurant, with outdoor seating and a great, just a great string up of string lights, nicely configured set of string lights through some vines or or swooping overhead, just so cozy, so nice.
That's how we did our wedding. Our barn wedding had lots of all those old timey strings
Yeah.
hanging around, and then our walkway down to our barn. We had our wedding during the day,
You
but
know,
for
we're
our
we're basically like, you are in luminance, but then beyond, it's just darkness, just blackness. But the area you're in is just nice and cozily lit. Well, I loved this series. I love this series. I will be watching the series every year. And I don't know. I think that it's solid, and I think that the writing is really, really, really good, and I think the characters all pull through. And yeah.
There were times though where Lily looked older than a teenager to me,
Oh
and
well,
there were
yeah.
times. I mean, so
Well,
you
that,
could
but that
tell. I mean,
that's
she looked
The
definitely
older.
actress
true.
is in her
Well, also
30s.
him. I mean, he looks like he's
Right.
closing in on
There were
30. I
some
mean,
times where Lily looked younger and was believable in the role, but there were some instances where she just looked wiser for the teenage years kind of look, where you can tell that she was, in her 20s playing a 17-year-old. It wasn't like Rory or Alexis Bledel playing Rory. I mean, she was a lot more believable playing a 15-year-old at 19.
oh, 100%. I think that I think about it like, what if those actors had been cast age appropriate, like if they had really been cast as actual 17-year-old actors, um, whether like how some of that would have played.
I
Right.
um,
I feel like you don't like I don't think do they even say that they're 17 right at the very beginning? Like I think it takes you an episode or two to realize how young they are, and then
Right.
I feel like if they were in younger kids playing it, it wouldn't be as believable of a storyline, if that
right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like young kids aren't that in tune with, like, I don't know. That's just what
Well,
aren't that.
I do stand by this, by this, this, this idea that young kids their age are definitely this dramatic, like are definitely like, it is life or death, all of this stuff,
Right.
um, and that to me feels very, very teenage, like,
But I mean, it did feel believable. There was just some moments where the teenage magic didn't seem to be there. you
yeah,
know,
because of the actor's age. That's just a casting thing. I mean, that's one of those things where it's like,
just some. I mean, it wasn't a lot of them, but like just some of them, just the way her face looked or something, or
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think that she actually looks older than her age more than he does.
yes,
I
I
agree
think
with
can,
that.
I think he can actually pass, for, I'd say, like, he could pass for a preppy adult dressing 18-year-old, but she has a maturity to her, not just her personality, but her face just looks
she's looked more
like
mature.
she looks like a woman, and
Are you saying she's got crow's feet?
no, no, I mean, she just, like, as Nancy was saying, she doesn't have that little girl quality
Like
that
Alexis Bledel. Like
Alexis had in her first seasons. She looks a little bit more like Alexis did by the end of the series, and that's just a casting thing, That's like that. I mean, I don't really know what the story was in her getting the role, if she knows the writers, if, like, it might be one of those things where she she got the role because the role, like, somebody thought that she would be perfect in that role because they know her, and she is fantastic. I mean, her acting is absolutely
yeah,
amazing. And sometimes that's just enough. You just know an actor and you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to work with them, they are so good. And then you see a role that's like, oh, this works, and you just want to get them in there. And so that's sometimes the case. Working with young people, for with younger actors, is really, really difficult. Aside from the fact that you're working with inexperience, the older the actor is, the more they've likely had as an actor. You're also dealing with labor laws and all kinds of stuff that make it really difficult. So almost always, like, it's the actors are older than the characters that they're
better
playing. Just
better
yeah,
example of
17
my
year old.
thing. Better example of my thing would be Keiko, because Keiko was 27 and playing a
yeah,
50-year-old. Yeah, so that
yeah,
would
yeah.
be better.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was 26.
Right, and you
I
too.
I was 26. So, I mean,
And you too. Yeah, I forgot about you. Sorry.
Seven,
yeah.
teenagers
All the
today, though, I think look older. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're stressed or whatever. They're doing a lot of looking at phones or whatever. I feel like they look older now than they did when I was a kid.
you're
They
saying that
don't
teenagers
have the
today
I
have
have a
joys of
16 year
crow's
old
feet?
son,
simplicity.
and these teenage girls that I feel like they're a lot older looking because I don't think I look that much older than some of these girls because I hang around with the band and I'm like, oh, these girls don't look that young anymore.
I
And even
know.
how they dress and stuff is a lot more.
Or do you think you just, yeah, or we don't think that we're as old as we are either?
I mean,
you
that's
know,
an interesting theory that, like, that young people are starting to age faster because they're staring at their phones. I mean, I never thought about that, but I don't know how does that work.
I don't know. They start looking at their
Is
like
that
computers
squinting? Is
a
it
lot
causing
more.
crow's
Maybe
feet?
they're getting crow's feet. No, I don't mean that. I mean I just feel like they're just more
Is
mature
there
than we
something
are.
about
They're
the
talking
light?
about more advanced subjects than we ever talked about when I was when I was in
Well, that's
school. I feel
definitely
like
true.
everything like that.
Well, that's definitely true. I mean, the next generation, I think, I mean that's just the story of humanity evolving, and getting more, getting smarter and better, is that the next generation typically understands
I mean,
things
do you
that
think
they
every
under
generation, like, like our generation, maybe gotten more than our parent? Like
yeah.
we're
Yeah, because, yeah, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because the next generation is getting taught things by their
By our
previous
kids.
generation that that they learned that were a part
Right.
of the world. It's like, I mean, not that like, not that like being able to use an iPad is, is indicative of intelligence, but like, there are plenty of adults that don't know how to use an iPad and are completely lost by it. And there are like 1-year olds that can use an
Masterclass.
iPad, like expertly use an iPad, right? So right there, like, okay, that 1-year old is going to grow up to be extremely adept at certain skills that are going to be incredibly important to our world, whereas their parents and grandparents definitely cannot, and therefore can't really function as well in that newer world.
But
And
but
so,
social skills are their social skills are depleting, or not as good as uh,
well, I mean,
Right.
the
it
previous.
again, maybe, but what we define to be good social skills is always going to be weighed against what social means by the standards of that current society. If in the future social is defined strictly by virtual social behavior, and that's what's valued as good and healthy, then you could argue that they may be considerably better at social than we are, because they've redefined what is socially valuable. Right now, every book that you would read would say that, like, that like live interaction, that's the most important thing, but I can't say for sure that that's the way that, that in 100 years uh that's what is going to be considered valuable social behavior. I tend to believe that social behavior is not really necessarily, it doesn't have like, it's not exclusive to live or virtual, that the connection between two people can live regardless of whether you're in person or virtually. But of course, I'm biased. As I said, I met my wife virtually and fell in love with her virtually. So
Well, and I feel like that's honestly the way that most people meet these days is virtually, just because of the circumstances that we're in.
Yeah, that's true. But I do like, even if what's socially acceptable is going to change, I still feel like there's an underlying problem with kids having devices so young, is that they're learning addiction at a younger age. Because, like, I'd even admit that I'm probably addicted to my electronics, and it's not healthy, and I would not want my kids to be addicted to theirs because it's just not healthy.
It is because they can't turn it off. I mean, even having a teenager, it's hard to turn it off at night, and get sleep. They don't sleep. They don't sleep. The solid. And I'm just as
Yeah.
guilty because I don't sleep either. But I used to maybe a little bit more when I was a teenager than he does, because I think he gets up in the middle of the night and looks at his phone, and it's hard to take that away
Yeah.
when they're almost adults.
Yeah.
But that's actually one of the reasons I truly love this series, is because it brings it back to, like, the written word, and
Yeah, they're
you
not
know
communicating like most teenagers.
yeah, but it also doesn't, like, the series doesn't ignore technology either, and like the great examples are, the group that he posts the shoe on, and
The
like,
mommy app.
all those like hyper social media, internet reliant things that also like exist in our world, like they use them in the series. So like I feel like it's a really nice balance of like getting back to, people really do love simply writing things down and writing to each other, and like actually handwriting is, something that is so joyful, or can be, and the series really does celebrate that, which I really love. And of course, like a bookstore, an actual physical bookstore where things are written down, that you have to page through them and really look at them, versus like scrolling on a screen or reading a Kindle or that type of thing. And all those things are fine, but it's just kind of nice that the series celebrates sort of that, I guess, Luddite way of doing things, but also doesn't ignore technology and progress.
Yeah, I love that too because it's like they're very much aware of the fact that technology is a thing. Like they say, if you have to use your phone, then don't worry about it, kind of a thing. It's like a maturity level type of a thing.
I also love that Dash uses Instagram to find Boomer. I mean, it's so perfect.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes. Even a year ago, or a year later after the series came out, that's still so relevant.
I did find it funny that it was his like he actually posted it instead of like his story, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I
Yeah.
suppose
Yeah, it's on the grid.
that was cute.
It's on the grid versus story.
That's so old school.
It's also, he's so proud of it. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm at the Jonas Brothers concert. Like, I'm super proud.
The fact, I mean, that was, I found that so funny how much that character loves the Jonas Brothers. Well, unless anybody has anything else that they want to discuss about this episode, I'm guessing the general consensus was a thumbs up on it.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Except
I
Ellen
did end up
Hunter.
really
Yes.
liking it. And
Wait, Hunter,
and
you didn't like it?
I give it a thumbs up as a Netflix Christmas show. It
Well,
meets all
that's
the
well,
requirements for that.
that is what it is. It is a
Yeah,
Netflix Christmas show.
it me
So
it
that's good.
it meets all the requirements for like that warm fuzzy Christmases, stuff. So I was
Good.
suggesting someone who wants to see.
You what?
I would definitely suggest the show for someone who loves that.
Yeah,
It's a
I
cute show.
mean, I definitely think it's a great show if your thing is if your thing is Christmas Hallmark Christmas movies, or Hallmark Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, see,
I think that this movie,
I
this
hate
series, like,
Hallmark Christmas movies, but
no,
I
I'm just
liked
saying
the
if you're
show.
in, I'm just saying if you're into that kind of thing, I
Yeah.
would be like, yeah, well, this right here is going to blow your mind.
That's what I told my
I
sister, who's addicted to Hallmark movies, and I said it's way cooler. I said you should try to watch it, and it's really quick, so you can, the episodes are quick.
Yeah, I actually think though that I'm in the minority of people who liked it. I don't care if there's a second season. Like, I'm satisfied with how it ended, and I actually would prefer to leave it at that.
You're not in the minority. I mean, there are plenty of folks that feel that way. And
I'm
actually, Steph mentioned that on Discord that she's totally happy with
Okay.
it.
I'm happy with if there wasn't a second season, I'd be happy with where it ended too.
Yeah,
I
this
kind
is
of
a
like
good
to see if they
ending.
got. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
I'd
okay
like to
with
see
this
if
one.
they got out of the strand, but like they could just, they could just end and we can just use our imaginations.
I will say this. I'm wondering if there is a script written for the second one. This first season is based on the first book, right? Do we know?
Yeah, it is.
And so I would imagine the second season would have been proposed at very least, and they would have proposed the second book.
Did anybody read the books?
I have
Amazon.
not. I've only read like half of the first one. I have not read the other.
The people who have read the books are not here right now. Steph has read, and I believe Sabrina said that she has read them. Um, Steph's only on the first one though. I don't know if she's finished it yet, but I know that she's read a lot of it.
Yeah, I wish I would know if somebody liked the, comparing the book to the movie and how.
Oh, I do have one. that she mentions towards the end her gerbil. Oh, what's the gerbil's name? Oh shoot, I forget. It's a great name for a gerbil. Uh that gerbil has a much bigger backstory in the book, which I think is hilarious. It's he the gerbil met a pretty traumatic end, and so and that's like in the first few pages of the book. But I love that they added it in here. But yeah, the gerbil made me laugh.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me on this awesome little ride, this little Christmas jaunt through love and journal writing.